Hi friends, my name's Erin McIntyre. I'm the minister at Knox St. Paul's United Church, and I'm also on the Pastoral Relations Commission. So I'm here to present you with the Sacraments Elder Policy. If you remember, in the spring meeting, we presented a comprehensive policy about licensing folks to administer the sacraments, and we had a whole lot of discussion about it, mostly regarding the sacraments elders. So we voted to take that portion out and pass the rest of that policy. Well, we've been working on the sacraments elder portion of this, and because of the extensive conversation that happened in the spring, we thought the next best step would be to hear from you. So I hope you remember that a survey was sent out. Thank you, Anita, for sending that out. We had one created for the lay reps and one for ministry personnel. Two different surveys because we relate to sacraments elders differently, since sacraments elders only exist in the absence of a called or appointed ministry personnel on the charge. We worked really hard to reach all the pastoral charges and all the ministry personnel. However, it was up to you to respond, so our responses are what they are. What came out of the survey is that we had 113 pastoral charges respond to it, with 67% of pastoral charges saying no. They did not have trouble getting someone to preside at the sacraments. Now, sometimes that's because they've just never had to look for someone. Either they've had multiple ministry personnel, so whenever they were in a search for a new ministry personnel, they still had someone there to preside. Sometimes it's because they had other ministry personnel nearby that they could call and easily get to preside at the sacraments. That leaves, however, 33% who said, yes, we've had trouble trying to find someone to do the sacraments. And the comments I heard from you was that it was time consuming. Sometimes you'd call up to 10 people before you'd finally get someone who said, yeah, we can do that. It's been hard to find a list of people to call. It's been time consuming. It's been frustrating because you've had to change the time of your worship. It's been frustrating because you'd have to wait on someone else's time to be able to do this, and so you didn't have the privilege of being able to just have worship as normal. So beyond that, 61% of pastoral charges said they'd be open to having a sacraments elder if ever the need arose. And 33% said, no thank you. The remaining 6% didn't answer that question. In terms of ministry personnel, we had 32 responses. 90% of those who responded said, yeah, absolutely, we're open to having a sacraments elder. And 10% said, no, that's not within our theology. About half of those who responded to the survey, so about 18 ministers, said, absolutely, we are willing to travel to preside at sacraments, but many of us have limiting factors, and those include the distance that we are willing to travel, the time within we can do this, what the weather's like, and mostly needing to prioritize our own pastoral charges for those of us who are in pastoral charges, although there are a number of retired ministry personnel who are able and interested in doing this work. So one thing we discovered with the survey is that there's a lot of misinformation about sacraments elders. So I want to clarify some of that with you. We are bound as a regional council to work within the denomination's policy. The denomination's policy is that when there is no settled or called or appointed ministry personnel, a pastoral charge can apply to have someone licensed to preside at the sacraments. And that's within the bounds of the regional council that would happen. And they are licensed for their pastoral charge only, so they can't travel to other pastoral charges, not like licensed lay worship leaders. Also, this means that it's not something that you do whenever your minister's on holidays or on vacation. This is something that when you're in a search kind of time and you can't find someone, it's been a while, or you just don't have a minister, and it's hard to find someone to come and preside at the sacraments, this is when this sort of situation would apply. We've heard the expressed need for someone to provide sacraments for folks who are in the hospitals. And that one particular situation we heard is outside of the bounds of this policy. It's a very good point, and we thank you for raising that. However, it just doesn't work within this policy. That's a discussion for another time, but a worthwhile one. Beyond that, I read a lot of comments about this sacraments elders being just for communion, but in fact it's providing both sacraments, baptism and communion. So just so that is clear. And beyond that, there's always a need for appropriate training and ongoing support of the sacraments elder. So with that in mind, you've had the chance to read the policy that's been created by the Pastoral Relations Commission. And just to summarize, it's for when there is no settled, called, or appointed minister in a pastoral charge, and when it's difficult for that pastoral charge to find someone to preside at the sacraments. That's when there's a possibility of putting forth a name and requesting a sacraments elder to be licensed. At the same time, we recognize the value of inviting someone in, a neighboring ministry personnel or retired clergy to preside at the sacraments and lead worship, because this creates and maintains relationships with our neighboring pastoral charges, and it helps us to keep connected with each other. But we know it's not always possible, and so that's when we turn to this role of sacraments elder. So how does it happen? Well, the request first needs to be made at the governing body's meeting, and they need to name an individual whom they think would be appropriate to perform the duties of a sacraments elder. That request then gets transmitted to the Pastoral Relations Commission, and if you read the policy, you'll see all the details of what needs to be transmitted. The Pastoral Relations Commission would then confirm the need for a sacraments elder and the suitability of the proposed person. They'd then take that and pass it along to the regional council executive, who would then say yay or nay. And that happens at every step along the way. Assuming all moves forward, the person identified would then be trained and assigned a mentor, and the regional council may grant a license for up to 12 months, so a whole year. And that license can be renewed if there's still a need. If ever there's a minister that's called or appointed to that pastoral charge, that license ends. And so that's our policy in short. So thank you so much for taking the time to respond to our survey. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me and to read the policy, which includes all the details. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to listen and to respond as we're able.